Hello, everyone, and welcome to video number 150. By the way, this is Naren's Life with MS. My name's Naren, and this time for this Wednesday, I do want to start a new series, and this series is going to be called What MS Taught Me Wednesdays. Yeah, what MS taught me Wednesdays is going to be another new series that I'm beginning starting this week, and just so happens to also be the 150th video. So if you have followed me or at least seen a lot of my videos throughout, you know that this is it's for me. I mean, it's not really the biggest thing, considering that I've had like the 100th day, the 20th. I mean, reaching, let's say, day 20 or day 10 was a lot bigger of a milestone for me, because at that point in time I was still a little unsure of what I wanted to talk about, and knowing that I am a lot more capable of speaking for anywhere between 4 minutes and 23 minutes, I do know that uh, for me, it's honestly, it's just another day. But if you've been here, if you have actually heard quite a bit of content, and I know there are people who actively listen or watch this, um, I just want to say thank you so much for doing that. Anyways, let's get started talking about this new series, which is What MS Has Taught Me, or What MS Taught Me. So, what MS taught me is all going to be about certain things that I learned throughout my throughout my time having multiple sclerosis. And while you know having MS did not change me as a character, I don't think that I've very much changed who I am. Right, my personality is more or less the same. uh, I definitely do think that I've learned certain lessons from MS that I do want to impart, and this is definitely going to be suited not only to other patients of MS, but also to patients of other autoimmune conditions, especially ones that do cause some form of discomfort, be it pain, be it um, you know the inability to walk, be it something or the other that is considered an impairment of sorts. And also, alongside that, of course, to caretakers as well, or at least people who are friends, people who are acquaintances, just so that they can become a little more aware, they can become a little more open, and they can definitely look to whomever this patient is with a lot more empathy, so that going forward, you know there will be less there are less questions that you might think are maybe stupid to ask, but they truly are not. um, you know you don't have to do that, right? Because I'll try to give you some answers, not all of them. I unfortunately am not the I'm not some sort of oracle that can answer every single question or know every single question you may have, but I can best define them. So with that said, for the first episode, the one thing I wanted to talk about is the support system. Now, a support system is, it is something that I am actually a little embarrassed to talk about, just because throughout my life, I have always remained more or less, an introvert. And so as a result, I've always sort of stayed by myself. I have not really, even when I made friends, my biggest thing my biggest thing for, not wanting to make a lot more friends or to, uh, you know, just, constantly be, with them all the time was because I always felt like, oh no, I might, you know, um, I might actually be, a little bit more of a, um, an inconvenience. So rather than say that, I just decided that, it's, whatever I can do, I can most likely try to do it by myself, or at least individually. So as a result, I kind of grew up having a very small group of friends. It wasn't that people didn't know of me, but it was just that I kept myself relatively, um, I guess I can say I thrived in solitude, right? Let's not use other words to describe it, but yeah, I thrived in solitude. And the reason I want to talk about a support system is because when you do have a, you know a medical condition, an autoimmune condition, especially something like MS, where you don't know um, when it can get worse, or when it does get worse, that, you know you can't, you know stay solo for a very long time. And in that case, you do need to have some form of support system available to you. Now, there are, of course, the institutionalized support systems that are available, but usually you do need something where there is also some form of intimacy, right? Some form of actual personal relationship that you have with some people that are in your support system. And that became one of my biggest, that became one of, at least for me, one of the biggest things that I had to learn, and one of the biggest things that, um, you know made me realize that, it would be a lot more difficult to, handle myself solo, or at least work solo, um, for a very long time. And, as a result, I realized that, when you do end up, with a condition like this, having a support system is, of course, it becomes almost vital at that point in time, because you don't know what can happen the next day. You don't know what can, you don't know if, the next day you might actually have a relapse, for example, right? You don't know what, or, some new, some some new symptom might just come up, right? Or worst case, or even worse than that, you could actually just fall sick, right? You could have a common cold, and, as far as all things are concerned, that is probably the worst thing that can happen to you if you are, a patient with an autoimmune condition, because that does end up making it a whole lot worse for you, right? So as a result, having that support system, having that system present or in place, does become something that, you kind of need to develop. And, knowing me as a person, I knew that that wasn't very easy to come by. So for me, usually trying to find the next place, what my next adventure is, really depended on who I knew, where I was, who I knew. Did I feel safe? Did I feel secure? And of course, over time, that need for that security, that need for that safety has of course increased, because compared to, let's say, even a few years back, I was a lot more open to traveling alone, a lot more open to exploring new places. And now I'm a little more hesitant to do that, just because um, not only do I you know not only will I need a certain set of tools to be able to you know travel by myself, but apart from that, I will also need to ensure that I have to keep my energy in place. I have to make sure that I'm eating the right food, that I'm doing everything that is necessary to be able to survive the next 2 days, because things can definitely go from unknown to bad, or from bad to worse, very very quickly, especially when you're in a situation where even the littlest amount of stress can actually impact you a whole lot. So the first thing that I did want to talk about in terms of you know what MS has taught me is to really develop and really build your support system, because at the end of the day, that is one of the first things that you can really rely on going forward. And it is generally that one thing that ends up pretty much being sort of your fail safe in the case that you're in an unknown, unwelcome, or an unfriendly situation. So with that said, that is the first lesson that I do want to teach you in regards to what MS has taught me. But with that being said, of course, do share your thoughts, do share your experiences. I mean, how much do you rely on your support system, and what kind of support system have you built for yourself? Or what kind of support system do you play in for other people as well? Do share your thoughts, do share your insights, do share your experiences, so that we can get the conversation started and really build upon this whole idea of creating um, this this space, right? This safety net for pretty much everyone, because regardless of whether or not you have a medical condition, regardless of whether or not you have an autoimmune condition, or even MS, you do need that level. You do need that safety net. You do need those people to be available for you, um, so that uh, if push comes to shove, you also have something to push back with. And with that said, this is, of course, what MS has taught me, episode 1. I hope you do enjoy this episode. And if you do end up clicking on this video because you actually saw the short in regards to this, do mention that in the comments, so that we can actually have a conversation regarding that as well. But with that said, here's wishing you a good night. I hope that your Wednesday went very well. And as the weekend is now right around the corner. It's just downhill from here. So let's gear up for the next weekend. And as you know, January is also coming to an end. So hopefully your first month of 2026 also went well. But yes, with that said, I will see you tomorrow. And yeah, I do hope that you have a great rest of the day today. And yes, see you tomorrow. Bye.